ride the wave with us. Each week our goal is to give you at least one suggestion that will make your life a little better. My name is Phil George. I'm a clinical biochemist, certified personal trainer, and a health coach. Please remember, everything we discuss on the show is for informational purposes only and should not be taken as medical advice. So we've got a couple of great guests with us today, and this is part 2 of the first part we had. You can tune into that for a little bit more in depth. So why don't we introduce yourself?
Hi, I am Rekha Nair. I am an internal medicine primary care physician who's also board certified in lifestyle medicine. I was working in the traditional insurance-based primary care for 15 years and then switched to direct primary care, which is a membership-based model. We, along with Hari, my life and business partner, we started Rhythm Medical in November 2024.
Right, and please introduce yourself.
Sure. Thanks, Phil. So I'm Hari Nair. I'm a clinical chemist, board certified in lab medicine. So I've served as a lab director, medical director in multiple labs, and have in the past focused on chronic disease assessments and follow-up monitoring, all that. So I bring all those experiences to our clinic. So we ask the question, where is the patient at a given time in terms of the patient's risk for metabolic diseases, cardiovascular diseases, and then we make a plan around that risk assessment. So that's and in addition, I also support multiple small startup labs on their way to accreditations and commercialization. So I've owned a lab myself. So that's another area that I work in.
Right. So again, my suggestion is go into part 1. We go into a lot of detail, but I'm going to just give you the Cliff Notes version. We're going to squish it together. So most people are familiar with with the traditional model, what they call allopathic or Western medicine, where you have a physician, you have to you go to a physician, they have assistants and things like that. Anybody that's been had to go to the hospital, see a doctor, it's a long wait. I had somebody actually I knew that was having blood in their stool. It took them forever to have get a colonoscopy done. Just took forever. So this is what's happened. The other thing is with Western medicine, it's become very, very much commercialized. That's my opinion anyway. Because what's happened is now most physicians now are employees of the hospital. When I was in the lab, when the dinosaurs ruled the earth, we had all little hospitals, and there was little hospitals all over the place, and you have a couple of big hospitals. In fact, UMass and Memorial were 2 separate hospitals. And so you could really go anywhere. But now UMass, St. V's, you could basically, which I'm not saying they're good or they're bad. I'm just saying this is what's happened. Most physicians now are employees of employees, so they have to kind of follow what's told. They'll have a CEO that's making $2 million a year, and somebody else from Harvard with an MBA, and they're looking at, we got to make money, we got to do this, we got to do that. So in my opinion, I know a lot of physicians personally, they've lost a lot of their autonomy to where they all go in with the greatest purpose, but then and how many patients did you have when you were in?
In my traditional insurance-based practice, I had 2,500 patients, and I was part-time.
Wow. And you think you said about 12 minutes is the average time.
That's the national average.
And again, what happens is, I'm not going to mention the physician's name, but actually I referred you to him, so you know who I'm talking about. They came in and they said to him, we want to take over your practice. We're going to pay all your malpractice. We're going to put you just have to show up and do what you do. But he got very disenchanted because they were saying, you should see a few more people. Maybe you don't need to see that that patient right after the surgery. Maybe another week. What happens at 5 o'clock? What happens at that? He just couldn't deal with it. He had to leave. He had to leave that model because he didn't feel he was doing the patients what he's going to do. But last time I heard, the average physician comes out of medical school with like $500,000 in debt. Okay. And then if you have a husband or a wife and they expect the white picket fence, and they're like, you're going to pay the student loans, you're going to do this, and you just can't go off and start your own practice because, again, you're going to pay malpractice insurance, which is really all that stuff. So it's really, really hard to do. The only people are physicians like you that have already established, hopefully got a little bit of a nest egg, so you can maybe afford, and you get a rich husband.
Oh,
It was a leap of faith for us. There's never a time when we are fully prepared. But what we did really came out of her frustration with the same, everything that you just mentioned. She likes to see the patient, as take her time to see the patient, to understand the root cause, and then to have a plan to follow up. None of that is possible in our insurance-based medicine. So this has been eating her from inside for a long time. And that's how I got involved in primary care, and I started learning about it. And we would then go to various primary care conferences and study models like Iora Health and ChenMed to understand what's a really good model for patient care. And we came upon direct primary care as a financial model and lifestyle medicine as a framework for how to think about medicine as a whole. So we adopted these two models, and I think professionally we are very happy for that because now she gets to see about 4 to 5 patients a day, and she can really see them very well. She can take 2 hours, sometimes even the entire afternoon, to really sit with the patient, listen to the patient. And you had mentioned previously that listening to the patient, let the patient talk, and you will learn a lot about the patient's life that is directly related to the wellness.
And we'll talk about some of your patients. I think that's important. But again, we're going to squish it up. We covered the first part. But basically, for the listeners, for the viewers to know, so direct primary care, it's a fee-based model. So in other words, you pay $150 a month?
no, $120 a month.
Even better.
Yeah.
So $120 a month basically is going to give you access to a physician. And we joked before, what I say, what is your health worth? If I could wave a magic wand over you, people don't realize your health is so important. You could have, I do an analogy sometimes. Let's just say you had like Warren Buffett, and he's in pretty good health. Let's say he's not in good health. He's got billions of dollars. Would you trade let's say he's got diabetes, he aches and pains, he can't get around. Would you take his billions of dollars and trade places with him? You know what I mean? Not many people will. I don't care how much money you have in the world. If your health is no good, that money really, what does it mean to you? You can't enjoy it. Right. So I don't know about. In fact, Art, the station manager, when we said 120, he says that's pretty reasonable. So what's happening is you're going to have access. Let's get a little bit into the access we're talking about.
So $120 a month, or many of the members, they actually pay the full year, and we give a 10% discount, so which actually comes to a little more than $100 a month. And then they can see me, pretty much anytime they want for any urgent matters. They see me the same day or within 24 hours. Physicals can be within a week. And they have direct access to me by text. So they will text me even during the weekends, for anything urgent. Some of my patients, they go to the grocery store and text me, Dr. Nair, is this food good to eat? So they won't get this kind of personalized care in the traditional insurance-based setting. And I love it, the patients love it. They have a really personalized care, and I think they also get a friend.
Right. And again, go ahead.
I would add to that, right? We also include the testing and the monitoring in this.
Sorry. Yeah.
And then we include the physical fitness assessment, and also the access. So we have 2 problems with the healthcare system: access and quality. So we are really trying to address both these issues with this one model.
Right. The other thing that's important, what he's mentioning, because again, as a clinical biochemist, he's like an expert on labs. So included in that, it's included all the lab testing. So you don't have to fight. You have to fight with the insurance company or anything else, and you're going to get not only we get the other thing, one of the things that I do, which I know you guys do, is basically I'll interpret the test too. And the other thing I'd like to input on this. There's in lab tests they have what they call the normal range, but that's not the optimal range.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's a whole different ballgame.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the way they come up with these range, most people that go in, they're sick to begin with, so their numbers are not going to be good. So when they say you're normal, you don't want to be normal. You want to be optimal.
Right.
So I've developed many tests over the years. Probably been participated in 50 to 75 tests that are running in various labs today. And part of that is setting up the reference range. Now, most of the reference ranges that we use are, as you said, so that science is a little, the clinical correlation of those are to be, there's a lot more to be looked into than just the number. So when you typically set up a reference range, you look at the distribution of population, and then you arbitrarily cut off 5th percentile and 95th percentile and say this is normal according to the lab. Now that's not the clinical optimal range. That's just what lab finds 5 to 95 percentile in a population that they test. That may not be, so a doctor has to recognize that this number has to be tailored to the patient's history, patient's health, and that's where a lot of gaps happen in the transition between lab and clinical implementation of the lab results to the patient care.
I think I mentioned to you guys in the beginning, you guys, perfect business model, in my opinion. I mean, this is very unusual what you have. You don't have this kind of a team. You have two really, a doctor and a PhD together with expertise. But the other thing, getting access to the correct lab work and going over with them. And the other thing, just going to repeat, you sitting down 1 to 2 hours with the patient, going over the nutrition, the physical part. Why don't you talk about your 5 pillars of health again?
Yes. So the 5 pillars of health are, the wholesome, nutrient-dense diet, natural movement, restorative sleep, stress management, positive social connections, and avoidance of harmful substances. Now, when I say wholesome, nutrient-dense diet, basically whole food. Right now we are surrounded by ultra-processed food. Everything is convenient food, packaged or bottled. So, and the diets, and there are different diets out there, Phil. Right now, if you look at it, there is a keto diet or a high-protein diet or low-fat, low-calorie diet.
Vegan, vegetarian.
Exactly. There are so many. People are confused. What should they follow? And in my opinion, dieting is a very modern concept. If you look at our old days, grandparents' time, they never used to follow a diet. They used to eat natural food, nothing packaged. So I think if you have a balanced, nutrient-dense diet, I don't think you need to follow any of these set diets. And the natural movement. People are so used to office work, desk job. They don't move. They just sit on their desk or chair for like the entire day. They are so stressed out. Once they come home, then they eat and again sit in front of the TV, right? So there's hardly any movement. Whereas in the olden days, people used to move a lot. Sleep. So you're so stressed, that affects the sleep. And when you don't sleep well, that increases your stress. They are very much interconnected. Substances, people are into so much, alcohol. They use alcohol for relaxing or marijuana for relaxing. It's not like once in a great while, once in a blue moon, but every day. And positive social connections. People have become hooked onto their gadgets, phones. They are all the time on the phone, instead of picking up the phone and talking to your friend, they are texting. So I think that's missing. And if you look, just to give you an example, blue zones, Blue zones are places where you find the most centenarians. And there are 5 blue zones that we know of currently. I'm sure there are more. So these blue zones are Okinawa, Japan, Sardinia, Italy, Icaria, Greece, Nicoya, Costa Rica, and Loma Linda, California. They follow, I mean, they are not, nobody tells them to do, but it's embedded into their lifestyle, all these pillars.
Yeah, they don't go to the
lifestyle.
gym. They don't go to the gym.
Exactly. They don't go to the gym.
They're picking up rocks. They're going
Right.
here. They're going there. You're talking about it's the body. It's the body movements.
Correct.
And then they have the wine with the family.
Right.
You got the grandparents living with the parents with the kids.
Yeah.
So you got the socialization part of it.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting point. I met with somebody actually, because things I say is basically we're really just smart monkeys. 99% of our DNA is the same as a chimpanzee, so we just have a bigger brain. Okay, that's basically what it comes down to. But in terms of the socialization, a lot of this goes back to evolutionary biology. So what happens is, with chimpanzees, if you have they run in packs. We run in packs. We're supposed
Yeah.
to.
Right.
Yeah.
We go back to caveman days. We would exist in maybe 10, 15 groups, and we'd have different groups. And chimpanzees work the same way. Again, we're almost the same. But what happens if you have chimpanzees and you have a leopard come out, and a chimpanzee versus a leopard, no chance.
Right.
But you get 5 chimpanzees versus the leopard's not going to attack because they got these huge canines. So the chimpanzees feel very, very safe in packs.
Yeah.
We feel very safe in packs.
Right.
We don't realize it, but if we're not around other people subconsciously,
Right.
we feel like we're in danger because we go back to caveman days. So this whole thing, and they've done studies, being isolated is the same as smoking a pack of cigarettes
Yeah.
a day.
Right.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, as we age, we see less and less people.
Right.
So I can't speak for you, but I'm guessing if I were you and somebody that comes in that's older and they don't, and older friends are died, and you might say maybe you should join a group or something like that. So you're looking at the big picture. You're not just looking at we're just going to give you a drug or we're just going to do that. What is it that's going to make your life better?
Right.
What I like, again, what happens before you see a doctor, well, I want you to see the nutritionist, or I want you to see the trainer. You get everything pretty much in one package.
Right.
So you don't have to go for 12 different places. We all talk too. You're going to know the patient personally.
Right.
Okay, as opposed to, nothing wrong with nurse practitioners or physician's assistants or anything like that, but you know that. When they call up, before you call up on the phone to a doctor's office, you don't know who you're going to talk to. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going on. You're gonna know.
Right.
The other thing, as opposed to having 2,000 or 3,000 patients, you got how many? 300?
Right now, 300. Yeah, that's what I'm aiming for.
Just 300.
300.
You're going to know those person, and you've sat down with that person face to face, for 1 or 2 hours. You're going to know and exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
And you're going to know the whole story behind them. And I like what you said. It's not just a doctor; it's a friend.
Yes.
I mean, that's different. A physician, an allopathic, a Western doctor doesn't have that luxury. They don't have that luxury.
The system is not built for that kind of interaction. Absolutely. So yeah, friendship. Medicine is friendship is something that she lives by. People call her. Friendship is medicine. Sorry. Patients call her, for things that are not even directly related to medicine. Hey, what grocery? What should I shop? Things like that. So, and I think this idea of spending 2 hours with the patient, a big part of it is the connection. For many patients, this is the best connection they have. Of course, we will not be, we are just not structured enough to provide them with a connectivity. We would love to be able to do that, and going forward, we will be doing things like having social events, trying to within our patient population, trying to fix the gap of create a friendship environment. Those are all we recognize it as part of medicine, but it's something that we will eventually go there. But for now, giving patients time. One-on-one, being a safe space for patients to talk about all the issues. That's what she's providing right now.
We talk about everything under the sun. Some people, they just come in to vent. They come in, they can vent about their families, politics, the medicine, their health, anything and everything. So they have a listening ear.
And I think it's important. Actually, I read this a while ago. There was a lawyer once, and he left his practice, and all he did is had people call him. He wouldn't even talk. He would just listen to them. And unfortunately, so many people are not used to being, and I read this somewhere, listening is a lost art, a lost skill, because everybody's waiting to jump in and start talking. So just being able to listen, and we talked before, letting the patient talk, they're gonna let you know exactly what's going on. Then you'll pick it up. Why don't you give us a couple of stories for patients? I love these stories.
Yes. So this was, in my the traditional practice, but I did spend not as much, not 2 hours, but I did spend, a significant amount of time, which did cause me to be late, take my work home. But two of my favorite stories. One was this young kid. He was 22 years old. He was very tall. He was over 6 feet, and he weighed about 300 pounds. And he came to me saying that he wants to go on the weight loss medication, the new, medication that's out there, Zepbound. And I tried telling him, why don't we work on your lifestyle first? Yes, we definitely can start you on the medication, but let's give lifestyle a try. And he didn't want to do that. Everyone wants quick fix. So I said, fine, and I prescribed the medication. And you can say, fortunately or unfortunately, his insurance denied the medication. So then we said, okay, let's really work on your lifestyle. We made a plan. I told him, what he can change in his lifestyle. And he said, fine. He was very dedicated to that. He came back to me in 4 months, and he had lost 60 pounds, 60 pounds. And he said, Dr. Nair, I've never felt better in my life. I'm like, that's, that made me so happy. That was like, real satisfaction. Okay, I was really able to help this person, and he was very happy too. And his lifestyle, he knows now, there's no fad diet, nothing. He knows just to follow the natural, nutrient-dense diet, movement, good sleep. So he was very happy. So that was one of my younger population. Similarly, I had a 65-year-old. She had the usual. She had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, arthritis. She was overweight. She kept going to the ER for chest pain. And of course, when you say chest pain, everybody's like, we want to make sure it's not your heart. So the ER did all sorts of tests, her blood work, stress test, echocardiogram, everything came back normal. And she came to me for follow-up, and she said, I'm just very frustrated. It's not my heart, and then why am I getting chest pain? I get chest pain every day. And again, I sat with her, and I found that her diet was really high on ultra-processed food, sodas and breads, cookies, cakes. So I said, I think your chest pain is most likely because of your heartburn. It's acid, and she was constipated, so which can worsen the acid symptoms. I said, are you ready to change your diet? And she said, I'll do anything to feel better. And we made a plan. Again, she came back in 8 weeks for follow-up. She said, I have not had a single episode of chest pain. I have not had to take ibuprofen for my knee pain, and I have lost about 10 pounds in 8 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, just lifestyle. So I think, you just have to listen and know exactly what the patient's lifestyle is, what is causing the issue. Because I feel like if she had come to me first instead of going to the ER, yes, of course, I would have made sure that, her vitals are fine, gotten any EKG, which we can do right in the clinic, made sure that she is not in any danger immediately, and then had her change her lifestyle and see.
Right, and the other thing is, I think we all agree, a conventional allopathic medicine, they're gonna put her on an antacid, something like that, or as opposed to changing. And the antacid, the other thing in terms of antacids, so listeners don't know, it can cause a lot of problems. You can't absorb the nutrients because you have to. One of the problems is, what I found is what happened as we get older, we produce less and less stomach acid. And the problem is not so much excessive amount of stomach, it's too little stomach acid. So what I do, I take ginger with that, and a little bit apple cider vinegar, get more stomach acid, because I had a little bit, they call it silent acid reflux.
Silent, yeah.
But I was able to stop it. But you being able to do it, instead of the average, even if they would have found out, that it was, they would have put her on the.
So that's the thing. She was already on the acid reducer medication. She was already taking omeprazole, and this was despite that she had the chest pain and the constipation issue, because it was just her diet. Just by taking medication without changing your lifestyle, it's not going to make much of a difference.
Right. The other thing you're talking about, even the knee pain. What happens? They call it inflammaging now, chronic inflammation, and we do the C-reactive protein, which is a measure of chronic inflammation, or something else I always suggest to get done, because if you got these aches and pains, and bad diet, we talked about, is going to cause those aches and pains. So you not only cured in terms of the heartburn, you also took care of the knees. So if you take again this kind of this metabolic approach, by getting the body the back in homeostasis to where it's supposed to be, it's going to take care of a multitude of problems.
Right, absolutely. That's why we need time for that, right? So what I feel is the traditional insurance-based model is basically sick care. You're just taking care of patients who fall sick or with the chronic diseases. There is no place or time for preventative care, so that you don't end up being so sick. And that's why I switched and to really take care of the patients in a preventative, to follow the preventative care, so that they don't end up being so sick, or help them reverse their lifestyle diseases.
Right. The other thing we talked actually before the show, is I think it's so much education.
Yes.
And that's what it is. But the other thing that I found is, I think there's a thing sometimes, if you throw a pebble into the stream and the waves go out, you don't realize what kind of impact you're having even beyond that patient.
Yeah.
Because what happens is, with the patient, they learn how to do it, then they tell somebody else, and then they tell somebody, and then they tell somebody else. So we're coming up towards the end of the show. So again, I think it's the education. And you're not only getting the medical care that you're needing, you're also getting an education at the same time. And once you learn it, then you can teach your kids and the parents. You know what's going on. So you're getting a double bonus. You're not going to charge them extra money for education, are you?
That's right. No, not at all.
One of the reasons that we do the index testing in the beginning is really education. We need to be educated about the patient, and patient need to be educated. And everything that we do is really equipping them for the continuous wellness. So education is really integrated into this.
Okay, we're coming up to the end of the show.
Sorry.
So how do they reach you?
So they can go through our website, which is www.rhythmmedicalprimarycare.com, or they can call 425-615-1623 if they want to schedule a complimentary visit with me.
Yeah, or email me, philgeorge@charter.net. And again, you can just come in. They call it a meet and greet. See if there's a fix there. In
Right.
terms of if you guys get along. But I think you will. I think you will. So I can't recommend these guys highly enough. Nobody comes on my show unless I recommend them or use them. So I don't have anybody on it. So again, I can't recommend you guys highly enough. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
One of the most common questions I'm asked as a biochemist and health coach is, what are the best supplements to take? Choosing supplements is a tricky business. Many companies have poor quality control and questionable ingredients. In the past, I had to send clients to several different websites. I am now able to offer one-stop shopping for all the quality brands I recommend with no shipping cost and a lower price in most cases. Just email me, philgeorge@charter.net, for a free consult.